Hello and welcome. Our top story is from South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa has hit back against attacks by the Trump administration. Ramaphosa has once again slammed the US for repeated white genocide claims. This comes after US President Donald Trump boycotted the G20 summit held in Johannesburg last month. Trump also said that he would not invite South Africa to the next G20 summit that he plans to host at a golf course in Miami owned by his family. Reacting to Trump's remarks, President Ramaphosa downright rejected his threats in a televised address.
A few days ago, President Donald Trump made a statement to the effect that South Africa would not be invited to participate in the G20 in the United States. He repeated untrue statements about genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people in our country.
The South African president also said that the reasons the US gave for opting out of the latest G20 summit were based on false allegations about the African country.
As a country, we are aware that the stance taken by the United States administration has been influenced by a sustained campaign of disinformation by groups and individuals within our country, in the United States and elsewhere. These people who are spreading disinformation are endangering and undermining South Africa's national interests, destroying South African jobs, and weakening our country's relations with one of our most important partners.
In his address, Ramaphosa vowed that South Africa will continue to be an active member of the G20 despite the pushback by the Trump administration.
I must make it clear that South Africa is one of the founding members of the G20, and South Africa is therefore a member of the G20 in its own name and right.
Despite the growing friction between Washington and Pretoria, Ramaphosa said that South Africa was willing to continue to engage in dialogue with the US. South Africa has been on Donald Trump's radar since his return to the White House in January, be it the imposition of 30% tariffs on South African goods or repeatedly accusing the Ramaphosa government of discriminating against white Afrikaners. The US president has repeatedly claimed allegations of a so-called white genocide perpetrated by the country's black majority. Moreover, the dramatic showdown between Trump and Ramaphosa during a White House meeting in May took tensions to a new level. President Trump has been upset over South Africa's domestic and foreign policies. These include the black economic empowerment laws, which were introduced to redress the legacy of apartheid. Another point of friction has been South Africa's genocide case against Israel, which is one of the staunchest allies of the US. In October, Pretoria said that it would continue the case against Israel despite the Gaza ceasefire. Irked by South Africa's policies, the Trump administration imposed high tariffs on the African country and has put any trade deal out of question. Not participating in the latest G20 summit and hinting at not inviting South Africa to the next one is yet another way for the Trump administration to express its discontent with South Africa's policies. Tensions between the two countries do not seem likely to settle anytime soon. And for more on this, we have with us Boitumelo Ben Senekwane, who is an associate professor at UNISA and political commentator, joining us live from Pretoria, South Africa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, and good day to your viewers.
Absolutely. I'd like to start off with, of course, Trump's statements relating to the G20. We heard Ramaphosa hitting back, but let's look at how Trump could actually stop South Africa from attending the G20 summit. How may that play out?
Look, in the real sense, South Africa is a founding member of G20. It shouldn't be, as per the arrangement of the G20, disallowed to attend any meeting G20 unless the G20 itself resolves as such, as a structure. But of course, we know that we are dealing with an abnormal situation where a sitting president of the United States has been bullying the world. So it will not be a shock that as much as South Africa has the rights full rights to attend the G20, that when it arrives, South Africa delegation arrives in the US, they might be denied, for example, the rights to land in the United States. Their visa arrangement might not be approved. So those are the tactics that might be used by President Trump, and will argue that each and every country has the liberty to accept and accommodate whoever or decline whoever should visit the United States as a sovereign state.
And Boitumelo, I want to look at what Ramaphosa's next actions could be. We've had a fierce rebuttal against a lot of Trump's actions, whether it is those tariffs, whether it's claims of genocide against white Afrikaners, or whether it's the G20 fiasco that took place, of course, that boycott from the United States. What does President Ramaphosa do next, other than hit back with words?
Look, the reality is that the South African strategy is limited as far as using political masses and military masses.
Well, thank you to Boitumelo for joining us. This, of course, is an ongoing situation, and we will continue to bring you all of the updates in US-South Africa relations.
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.